그래 봐도 없지. 펜션 같은데 아니라고 아무도 안 하는 거고.
좋아요.
Coming up on Arirang News. Sweltering heat waves continue to bake South Korea, with the capital experiencing its hottest day of the year so far. Amid rising heat-related illnesses, we take a look at ways to stay safe from them. Trade data for July show South Korea posted a trade surplus for 2 months in a row. But it's because imports saw a sharp decline of more than 25% on year, deeper than exports. South Korea hosts the world's largest youth camp, the World Scout Jamboree, at Saemangun in the southwestern Jeollabuk-do province. There's a diverse schedule in store, ranging from global food tastings to temple stay experiences and K-pop concerts. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with the sweltering heat wave gripping South Korea for days now. Some parts of the country have seen their highest temperature so far of nearly 40 degrees Celsius, and it's forecast to continue until next week. Our Song Yoo-jin reports on ways to stay safe from heat-related illnesses during this sweltering weather.
South Korea's capital city Seoul on Tuesday experienced its hottest day of the year so far, with highs reaching 35 degrees Celsius. In Hwasungun County in Jeollanam-do province in the south, the mercury soared to 37 degrees Celsius. According to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, as of 4 p.m. Tuesday, at least 13 people have died from heat-related illnesses this year, like heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and heat cramps due to the prolonged heat wave. That's more than 2 times what was reported in the same period last year. However, the figure is likely to be even higher, as some cases reported to local fire departments have not yet been included. Experts warn that the elderly and people with existing heart or blood vessel conditions are at risk in particular. So what can be done to prevent heat-related illnesses? First, avoid going outside during the hottest time of the day, which is between noon and 5 p.m. People working on farms or in confined spaces like greenhouses should be on high alert.
It's not just about the absolute temperature, but also about how long for and where you're exposed to the heat. Even at the same temperature, the risk of heat stroke or heat exhaustion cranks up if you're exposed to the heat for a long time or working in a confined, humid environment.
If you can't avoid outdoor activities, try to schedule your work outside these hours and work in a group so that you can ask for help in case of an emergency. Second, drink plenty of water. If you've been sweating a lot, a sports drink might be a good option, as it not only keeps you hydrated, but also helps maintain your electrolyte balance. Third, move to a cool place if you feel unwell. Dizziness, nausea, and headaches are common symptoms of heat-related illnesses. Find some shade, drink water, and if you still feel sick, don't hesitate to reach out for help or go see a doctor. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
The leaders of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan are set to meet later this month at the U.S. presidential retreat, Camp David. Officials at South Korea's top office say the summit will be a way to show the close personal relationships between 3 leaders, while Seoul's ambassador to Washington says the venue is of particular significance. Our Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
The upcoming South Korea-U.S. Japan trilateral summit is poised to showcase the close friendships between the 3 leaders as a key message. According to various officials on Tuesday, a specific schedule is currently being arranged, with the 3 leaders likely to display the candid and open nature of their talks. Responding to questions over whether they will engage in activities like taking a stroll around the grounds of Camp David, an official from South Korea's top office said while nothing is set in stone, time for activities like that is usually arranged during summits of this nature. In addition, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida stated, according to Japanese media outlet Kyodo News, that there will be separate one-on-one discussions with the other leaders at Camp David. In the meantime, South Korea's ambassador to the U.S. Cho Hyun-dong remarked in Washington, D.C. on Monday that the summit will serve to strengthen trilateral cooperation. He highlighted that this event will be the first summit held at Camp David since President Joe Biden took office, and the significance of this venue underscores the importance of both nations' place on furthering collaboration.
This shows just how highly President Biden thinks of his relationship with our president, as well as the relations between South Korea and the U.S. and the trilateral relations between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan.
The ambassador added that Seoul has been playing a leading role in developing the trilateral partnership, with Seoul making efforts to improve bilateral relations with Japan.
I believe improved relations between South Korea and Japan is what took the cooperation between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan to a new level.
Another senior official also noted that discussions are taking place about whether or not to hold the trilateral summit on a regular basis from now on. The leaders will make the final decision. The official also added that the issue of Japan's plan to release wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant is not on the agenda. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Trade data for July show South Korea posted a trade surplus for 2 months in a row. But it's not because exports did well. In fact, imports plunged by more than 25% on year, deeper than exports. Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
South Korea's trade balance was in the black for the second straight month last month on the back of rising auto exports and falling raw material prices. According to data released by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy on Tuesday, the country's trade balance was over $1.6 billion in July, with exports coming to just over $50 billion and imports at over $48 billion. This surplus was largely due to import prices, which fell by more than 25% compared to the same month the year before. Prices for oil, gas and energy fell by over 46% on year across all three sectors, leading to the sharp decline in import prices. However, outbound shipments from South Korea fell by over 16% on year. The ministry attributed the decline to the base effect due to record high exports last July and the continued slump in semiconductor exports. Chip exports have been on a consecutive on-year decline for the past 12 months, with July's outbound shipments of semiconductors falling by 34% compared to last year. Falling oil prices have also led to the decline in the value of various petroleum products, which also contributed to the overall decrease in total export value. Meanwhile, exports across the auto industry, mechanical and household electronic goods sectors rose. Auto exports rose by 15% on year on the back of rising popularity of eco-friendly vehicles around the world and recorded the highest total value for the month of July. This is the 13th month in a row that auto exports have seen an on-year rise. Outbound shipments of materials to the United States for use in batteries for electric vehicles also rose significantly in line with the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act. In addition to South Korea's active response to the IRA and Chips and Science Act, its return to Japan's trade whitelist as of last month is expected to have a positive impact on the country's trade balance in the near future. The government also highlighted its high-level cooperation with major Middle Eastern countries such as the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia as part of its trade policies. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Global oil prices have been on a rally, logging their steepest on-month advance in July in 18 months. This has been driven by tightened supply supported by OPEC Plus and increasing global demand. Global oil prices hit a 3-month high, recording their biggest monthly gain since January last year on tightening supply. Brent crude futures, the global oil benchmark, settled at about $85 a barrel on Monday, having risen by 13% in July. It has been gaining for 5 consecutive weeks since late June, the longest rally since before Russia's invasion of Ukraine elevated global energy markets. According to the International Energy Agency, the rise in oil prices is due to the cut in supply by OPEC+, the world's major oil producers. Output cuts by Riyadh and Moscow were announced at the start of July, with Saudi Arabia, the world's biggest exporter of crude oil, expected to extend its oil output cut of 1 million barrels per day at least until the end of August. Also, according to a Reuters survey, the total production from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries was about 840,000 barrels per day less in July. Experts say with OPEC+ keeping oil supplies tight, global demand is likely to remain high down the road. Goldman Sachs estimated that global demand increased to a record 102.8 million barrels per day in July. The bank also revised its demand outlook for this year upward by about 550,000 barrels per day on the back of strong economic growth expected in the US and India. The new Galaxy Z Flip 5 and Z Fold 5 by Samsung Electronics have helped the company achieve record pre-sales for foldable smartphones. Both went on sale at midnight on Monday, and Samsung sales that pre-orders are 1.9 times higher than the previous models. So far, the cheaper Galaxy Z Flip 5 has seen higher sales than the Z Fold 5. The top of the range 256GB model costs nearly $1,100. Pre-orders will continue until August 7th before both models go on full sale in South Korea next Friday. Both were unveiled last Wednesday at the Galaxy Unpacked event in Seoul. They have larger displays and slimmer hinge mechanisms than their predecessors. In other news, Russia has reported drone attacks on buildings in central Moscow on Tuesday. This comes just days after Russia said it had been targeted by Ukrainian drones. Jung Won-ju has the latest.
The skyscraper in Russia's capital, Moscow, has been hit by a drone for the second time in 2 days. In a post on Telegram, Russia's defense ministry said anti-aircraft units had thwarted a terrorist attack by the Kyiv regime and downed 2 drones in suburbs west of the city center. According to military and city officials, however, 1 drone sent out of control by anti-aircraft fire struck the same high-rise tower that was hit last Sunday. Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said 1 drone flew into the same tower at the Moscow city complex and that the facade on the 17th floor was damaged. On Sunday, the defense ministry said 3 drones were intercepted, but a business and shopping development in the west of the capital was hit. State news agency TASS reported that the 5th and 6th floors of the 50-story building were damaged, but there were no injuries. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the following day that Ukrainian attacks against Moscow and other Russian targets were acts of desperation and that Russia was taking all measures possible to protect against such strikes. Earlier on Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that the war was gradually returning to Russia after the Kremlin accused Kyiv of targeting Moscow with drones. The next day, the Kremlin launched a deadly airstrike against the Ukrainian president's hometown of Kryvyi Rih. At least 6 people were killed, including a 5-year-old girl, and dozens of others were wounded when a pair of ballistic missiles struck a school building and residential tower in the central Ukrainian city. Zelensky said more than 350 people were involved in search and rescue operations. Emergency services personnel were still looking for survivors under the rubble as of Monday afternoon. Jung Won-ju, Arirang News.
Pope Francis has urged Russia to restore the Black Sea grain deal amid fears over global food security with rising wheat prices. Lee Eun-jin has more on these remarks and the broader repercussions on Russia's inaction.
Pope Francis on Sunday called for prayers for Russia to restore the grain shipments from Ukraine through the Black Sea Initiative so that millions who suffer from hunger can be saved. Speaking after his weekly Angelus prayer at the Vatican, he said the destruction of the grain deal is a great offense against God because grain is his gift to feed humanity.
Let us not cease to pray for beleaguered Ukraine, where war is destroying everything, even grain. This is a great offense against God because grain is his gift to feed humanity. I appeal to my brothers, the authorities of the Russian Federation, that the Black Sea Initiative may be restored and grain may be transported safely.
The Black Sea Grain Initiative that ensures Ukrainian grain can travel into international waters of the Black Sea, avoiding mined areas on land, was negotiated in July 2022 between Turkey, the UN, and Russia. Ukraine is known as the breadbasket of Europe, and the deal helped stave off worsening of global hunger and prevented a surge in food prices worldwide. The deal also allowed Ukraine to export grain from its seaports despite the ongoing war. But Russia decided to suspend the deal on July 17th, claiming that the part of the deal allowing Russian agricultural exports was being negatively affected by Western sanctions. On Monday, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba held talks with his Croatian counterpart to discuss the possibility of using Croatian ports on the Danube and the Adriatic Sea for the export of Ukrainian grain. Restoring a route for Ukraine's grain exports is key to keeping down food prices worldwide and preventing millions from suffering hunger. The United Nations reported that supplies transported under the Black Sea Grain Initiative by the World Food Programme directly supported people in need, and that as of July 2023, the WFP procured 80% of its global wheat grain from Ukraine under the initiative. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials said that on Monday, Russian ballistic missiles slammed into an apartment complex and a university building in President Volodymyr Zelensky's hometown, killing 6 people and wounding 75 others as the blasts trapped residents beneath rubble. 이은진, Arirang News.
Pakistan is reeling from the aftermath of a brutal bomb blast this past Sunday that took more than 50 lives and injured some 200, as an Afghan branch of the militant group Islamic State claims responsibility. Lee Dae-yeon has the latest.
At least 54 people are dead in the town of Bijor in northwestern Pakistan after a suicide bombing targeted a pro-Taliban party's election rally on Sunday. The death toll included at least 5 children and left around 200 wounded. Islamic State in Khorasan province on Monday local time claimed in a statement that they were responsible for the bombing.
I don't know what the cause was, but there was a sudden blast, and within moments, dozens of people were lying dead and injured on the ground.
When we reached the convention and heard speeches being delivered from the stage, we were standing to welcome our leaders when suddenly a blast occurred, and then we were not aware of ourselves.
Sunday's bombing was among the worst in northwestern Pakistan in the last decade. Around 400 members of the Jamiat Ulema-e-Islam Party, a key government coalition partner headed by hardline politician Fazlur Rahman, were waiting for speeches to begin when a bomber detonated an explosive vest near the stage. Rahman appears to have not attended the rally. Abdul Rashid, one of the party's senior leaders, said the bombing was aimed at weakening the party, but that, quote, such attacks cannot deter our resolve. Police had suggested in their initial investigation that Islamic State in Khorasan province was a suspect. The Pakistani Taliban, which some analysts have suggested as possible suspects, distanced itself from the attack. The country's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif called Rahman to express his condolences and made assurances that those who led the attack would be punished. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also strongly condemned the suicide bombing.
The Secretary General extends his heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims and wishes a prompt recovery to those injured. He calls on the Pakistani authorities to bring those responsible to justice.
The UN chief also denounced all instances of terrorism and attacks against civilians, adding that he stands in solidarity with the government and the people of Pakistan in combating the scourge. Lee Dae-yeon, Arirang News.
Shifting gears, the world's largest youth camp, the World Scout Jamboree, is taking place here in Korea at Saemangeum, Jeollabuk-do Province. Some 43,000 teenagers from 158 countries are gathering for the event. Running from the 1st to the 12th of August, the camp has a diverse schedule of programs, including global food tastings, temple stay experiences, and a K-pop concert. It's the second time Korea is hosting this event, which is held every 4 years to promote friendship through youth cultural interactions. The event this time around also coincides with the 100th anniversary of the Korea Scout Association. The solo single 7 by BTS member Jungkook sits in the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100 for the second week in a row. Billboard's Hot 100 for this week was released on Monday U.S. time, and 7 was ranked at number 9 after topping the chart last week. The song has remained top of the Billboard Global 200 for 2 straight weeks and in the top 20 of the British official singles chart, which is one of the most recognized music charts in the world, along with Billboard. The track was released on July 14th and is Jungkook's official solo debut single. South Korea aims to become one of the top 4 content giants in the world by 2027. As the government shifts its focus to the potential of Webtoons, we delve into the world of Korea's Webtoon industry. Shin Se-byuk reports.
The K-content industry has emerged as a major export powerhouse in South Korea, with Korean dramas and movies finding great success abroad. The country is now seeking to become one of the world's top 4 content giants by 2027. As part of these efforts, the government is now shifting its focus to the potential of Webtoons. Data from the Korea Creative Content Agency shows the value of K-content exports reached over $13.3 billion in 2022. Cartoons accounted for only 0.8% of that amount. However, the cartoon sector saw remarkable growth with a 30% on-year increase, making it one of the top 3 fastest-growing segments in the content industry. An expert says what makes Webtoons particularly significant is their use as source material for various screen adaptations.
In the past, novels and comics served as the foundation for a variety of cultural content. Nowadays, webtoons and web novels, which captivate the younger generation, have taken on the role. And now, these are being exported worldwide.
To foster the webtoon industry further, the Seoul Metropolitan Government has launched educational initiatives to nurture webtoon creators and producers.
The core strength of K-content lies in the creativity of its creators. Nurturing that creativity requires providing them with the right talents and a platform to unleash their creative potential.
Through these courses, students have the opportunity to develop their competitiveness as webtoon creators.
I received valuable feedback and advice from many mentors, which helped me objectively assess my skills.
The classes taught me how to direct webtoons, understand illustrations better, and create trendier comics.
South Korea's well-established web environment also allows it to create more engaging content than other countries.
South Korea's highly digitalized environment further facilitates collaboration between creators.
However, he also expressed concerns about potential diplomatic issues that may arise when exporting webtoons or K-content, as some content could touch on sensitive topics. To that end, the expert said the government has to take on a role beyond just providing financial support, acting as a mediator to address these issues. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
Extreme heat will continue across the country. Maximum temperatures will be a tad higher tomorrow at 35 degrees Celsius in Seoul. Overnight lows will also be quite high at 27, which is considered a tropical night. Under such conditions, major illnesses such as heat exhaustion and even heat stroke may occur. Please take extra precautions, especially for children and seniors. Despite the stifling heat, those across southern regions should expect isolated showers. The hot air on the ground, which is clashing with the cold winds in the upper atmosphere, will lead to on and off showers. Inland regions, including Jeollado and Gyeongsangdo provinces and Jeju Island, will see 5 to 40 millimeters. Tomorrow, Seoul will be starting off at 27 degrees. For the daytime, sweltering temperatures are expected. Highs in Seoul get up to 35, Daejeon and Gwangju 36, Gyeongju will be hot at 37 degrees. For the remainder of the week, southern regions, including Jeju Island, will see frequent showers. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all for this Tuesday night newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with the most up-to-date news. Good night.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, look my way. Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?